next episode of Wow.
We have animal instinct. We can sense your fear.
We can't let that slide. They're not getting away with this, David. You can't let them get away with this.
Somebody call the Whaaa-ambulance.
What did you say?
You know, and we all have our 15 minutes of fame, and I'd like to take a couple of my 15 minutes to talk about the rights and the wrongs in the world of professional wrestling.
And it is for the WWE Championship.
This match is for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship.
The World Heavyweight Championship.
The match and new NWA Heavyweight Champion.
We appreciate you guys coming out and taking your time to support women's wrestling in America.
This match is for the AWA World Heavyweight Wrestling Championship.
Oh, why they treat that poor girl like they do. Every promo. They can't get away with this, David. You got to do something. We got to stop them. Boy. What have they done to you? What have they done to you? Hello, everybody. This is Mr. Green. You're listening to the Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling Podcast. And, of course, if you heard it from the beginning, you heard the promo that was setting up, well, as I'm recording the next episode of WoW, which apparently is going to be Kara Kai standing up to Animal Instinct for not allowing them to get away with whatever it is that they've been getting away with. I have no idea what it is that she's talking about. But I also know that they just grabbed that particular clip from when she was talking about top tier. But really, of all the things to use to try to set her up, why did they have to make her sound so whiny? Why? Why would they do that to her? She's supposed to be somebody that you can get behind and root for and want to see succeed. It is always, they can't get away with this. They can't. They cheated. They're bad people. It's always that. Always. Now we've just transferred that off of top tier onto Animal Instinct for whatever they've done. I don't even think they've done anything. So I don't even know how that little statement and that thing was applicable. But here we are, and our single star Xena Phoenix is going to get dragged into this. Well, I guess it was nice while it lasted. Maybe she'll survive it, but good grief. Give that young lady a different material to use instead of everybody's a bully, everybody's cheating, everybody can't get away with this. Please stop, help David. Oh, nobody wants a whiner. That's the point. Nobody wants a whiner. Anyhow, but I know I'm getting ahead of the review, but that particular thing just tickled me so. I was like, good grief. They just cannot get away from this bully narrative. Every heel here is a bully. And what's worse is that Kara Kai never succeeds. She pretty much has failed on every turn to stop any bully that she's claimed that, well, we got to stop this. Well, you haven't done a good job of it so far. So I don't know if you be my frontline person. Anyhow, that's been carrying on too far. So let's go into my normal thing because I feel myself starting to ramp up. I feel it happening already. Let us go into the world of wrestling, women's wrestling, that is, that exists outside of WoW. Some of it. Not all, some. So that leads us into the news, views, and updates. So what is happening out there in the world of women's wrestling? Well, the big story was Naomi. We had just talked about that the last episode. At the time when I was recording it, it was just a rumor. But it's now confirmed. and she's already relinquished the championship. Naomi has stepped down and relinquished the Women's World Championship, leaving the belt in the ring following a pretty good promo out of her, which is what we've come to expect of her as of late. It's a bittersweet thing because congratulations to her in much the same way that we've congratulated others on the show. But at the same time, we got to do without Naomi for a little while. And I truly believe this may have been the best work that she's done. The best. I mean, she was finding herself once she left WWE, and then she made the stop through TNA, and I thought she was doing some good work there. She looked like she was having a blast. Her coming back to WWE for a small portion felt like, well, there is a little step backwards, but I'm sure she wanted to be with her family, be with her husband, be working in the same location. And I don't mean to step backwards in terms of money or prestige, obviously. I mean that in that she went from a little bit more outspoken Trinity Fatu, who was having to compete on the level of people who are largely looked at as, no real nice way to say it, were looked at as superior in-ring workers than Naomi. Naomi was kind of the last holdout of the diva era, so she wasn't really placed in the, wow, she can put on a good match category. And she started having some, better matches, in my opinion, in TNA. She certainly was featured in those positions much more. And so when she went back to just being Naomi the Glow, I was like, oh, well, I guess it was nice while it lasted. But then we got this. We got Proceed with Caution Naomi, which was really fun. And, selfishly, I will miss it. But in the greater good of her life, congratulations. And, we will all wish her the best. And what a promo. If I got to come back with my baby in my arms, coming back to claim was mine. That's great stuff. Ah, man. Why can't we need some more people that can talk like that. Get some genuine and true emotion in there. Although I doubt that she'll be able to come back as a heel because people have started to gravitate towards her and like what she was doing. Holy smokes. Time will tell. The funny thing is that Becky Lynch seemed to have some fun with this on her own, and she tweeted, "How irresponsible getting pregnant as champion." That gave me a good little chuckle there because we all know that she basically did the same thing, and that was the criticism that she faced. That, hey, you're the champion, you getting pregnant out here? How dare you? Well, hey, look, that's part of the course. If you're going to be active out there, you're always going to run the chance of that happening. So she had a little fun. Naomi's gone. We're going to see a new women's champion crowned. You know what? I haven't even checked to see whether they've done anything with that yet. But we will move on from there. There is a new women's league in Los Angeles. Yes. I just came across this myself. The Genesis League I'm sorry. That's the name of the show. Genesis League Presents Crossfire is the name of the thing. The name of the league itself is Genesis Premier League. And this is set to shoot, I guess, that particular event, Crossfire, on September 13th and 14th of this year at the BLT Amazon Studios in Hollywood, California. They said they're going to be streaming on Fight TV. Now, I'd always thought that Fight had changed their name over to Triller, but one or the other, Fight or Triller, you should be able to find them on there. They also have their social media up on Instagram, so you can see a few of the faces that they have. I have not seen anybody of massive note yet. Who I did see that caught my eye was a young lady that I interviewed. She might have been one of the last interviews that I did, now that I'm thinking about it. Regine Rosenthal. here, you would look at it and you would think that her name is Regina, but no, Regina. I can't pronounce it with the accent that she does, but that is one of the young ladies that is there, and she caught my attention, and she going to Los Angeles, like, oh, okay, wow, she's starting to branch out. She had already, I think she'd already done Japan. Where is she? Is she from Sweden? She's from one of the areas, European areas originally, but she started traveling, and I know she had a match with Max for the NWA Women's Television Championship at one point. So she started getting in her reps and started getting more attention and started spreading her name. So I'll be interested to see whether or not this goes anywhere or takes any ground. I mean, you're talking about another all-women's promotion, more or less, and they're essentially saying the same thing that we've heard, quite frankly, for a while. This is going to be groundbreaking. This is going to, be a great boon for women's sports and sports entertainment, et cetera, et cetera. So they seem like they're kind of playing that by the numbers. But time will tell whether or not they will be successful. I assume, and I do not know this yet, however, I will say right now for the benefit of clarity, I did reach out to them. That was less than 24 hours ago as of me recording, but I reached out to see if there's any other information that they would like to provide about their promotion and or league. So if I do get anything within that realm, then I will certainly share it. But again, as of right now, what I do know is what they have listed on their Instagram. I'm sure you can find that. And again, look up Genesis Premier League, and that will let you know about as much information as I know right now. So, but if you weren't aware of it beforehand, now you know. Now you know what you're looking for, and now you can see if they have any other people that they may produce for you to root for or root against. Natty Neidhart. She has addressed Becky Lynch somewhat. This was not on television. I think this was on the Busted Open radio. And on that, she essentially, well, we got to rewind it a little bit to say that apparently Becky Lynch wants Natty Neidhart. And I say Natty Neidhart, not Natalya. She apparently was somewhat clear with that. What that got was a response from, I feel like I'm going back and forth between two different people. Natalya responded, not Natty. Okay, so Becky Lynch, are you following this? Becky Lynch wants Natty Neidhart. Natalya responded to that on Busted Open radio. And it left the title, Becky Lynch doesn't get to decide when she gets Natty. And Neidhart had a couple of things to say about that. I'm going to try to read this as efficiently as I can. She responded, Becky Lynch doesn't get to decide when she gets Natty. Becky Lynch does not get to dictate when she gets Natty. And so Becky thought she was real clever when she put out a little tweet saying, I don't want Natalya. I'm sick of Natalya. I want Natty. Well, Becky, in all honesty, you don't get to decide when Natty comes to play. You could be a bully to Maxine. You could be a bully to Nikki Bella. You could be a bully to Natalya. But you don't decide when Natty comes to play. Natty will fucking decide that. So, Miss Neidhart is still riding the wave of being a different persona outside of WWE. She seems like she's enjoying what she has done outside of WWE. with the exception of the stop that she made in NWA, I would say that I've enjoyed it too. I still think that was a missed opportunity, but whatever. That was their decisions to make. However, outside of that, I think she's done a wonderful job of establishing that Natalya and Natty Neidhart are two different entities. And I think that's somewhat of a cool thing that she was able to do. She also continued talking about the character of Natty, and she says this: I'm so passionate about what I've built alone. I built Natty alone. I did not have any help building her. I did not have, and this isn't a diss to WWE, this isn't a diss to anyone, this is just me speaking from my heart. I worked on her alone. I didn't wait for anybody to come to me with an idea. I didn't wait for the machine to get behind it. I just wanted to build her and show everyone. I've been in WWE for a long time, and I'm telling you, you cannot wait for other people to just hand you shit. You cannot just wait for the writers to come up with a grandiose idea, or for Triple H to be like, hey, I was thinking. They have so much going on. This company is ever moving. It's moving so fast. I mean, Triple H has got like 18 jobs. He's got a job at the White House. He's the busiest person I've ever met in my life. Thankfully, he's young and energetic, is able to do it all. Or do all of it, sorry. But I'm not going to wait for him to come up with the perfect idea for me, because to me, those moments, you got to find inspiration in yourself. No one knows Natty better than Natty knows Natty. All right. So that was the response that Miss Neidhart gave to Lynch. She also seems to believe that there may come a time where Neidhart will appear in WWE's roster. Because at this point, of course, Natalya is a WWE superstar, as they like to call her, and she's been where has she been lately? She's kind of been hanging around with Maxine, and of course she's been down to Evolve. But when she is not in WWE and she goes off as Natty, we've seen her at Reality of Wrestling versus Promise Braxton. We've seen her take on Slamovich at Bloodsport, and I forget the other thing on later. I'm not going to butcher her name right now. But we've seen her participate in a multitude of places right now, going down to AAA. And she wasn't there as Natalya. She was there as Natty. I don't know if I would perceive that persona showing up in WWE. But would they let Becky Lynch leave to go and deal with Natty elsewhere? That would be the question. Like, her thinking of wanting to be in the Neidhart persona being in WWE is one thing. I don't know if we would get that. But if they did have a match, there's a strong portion of me that thinks that the writers there and the management there probably would not do much with it. If that is supposed to be something of any note, it probably would have needed to be at an Evolution or needs to be outside of the WWE universe. I don't know if TNA would want to host that. I don't know if they want to go to Reality or wherever, because they seem to be a little bit less stringent about letting their talent go someplace as long as it's a trusted location. Maybe Becky Lynch can work something out. I mean, this is all just speculation. Take that with a grain of salt. I have no inside track. I do not know whether or not they're going to be at Reality Wrestling. I don't know that. I'm just saying it would be nice if they were able to go someplace else where they could have a little bit more leeway if we're just talking about the match and the match alone. Now, for that matter, they got enough WWE ID locations and places that they partnered up with at this point, since they're constantly trying to take over the world. They should have some places that they would allow them to go. Anyhow, we will move on. I will skip that story and jump to this. I was about to talk about who is returning to WoW this week. Chelsea Green is in a Dar Man video. Now, why is that important? And I might be pronouncing that young man's name wrong, but just work with me here. But why was that important? Why would I bring up the fact that Chelsea Green's in somebody's video? Because, I mean, let's be honest. Most WWE talent that appears outside of WWE television is not necessarily a shocking thing. What was shocking, and I haven't proved it, but what was shocking is the other person that was within the video that she was in. That person appeared to be one Foxy Fierce. Now, of course, that is not her actual name, but I am pretty certain that the young lady that I saw in that locker room smiling and hugging onto her parents and all that good stuff was the Foxy Fierce that we had seen. I could not remember her name at the time, but I had to go and look it up. And when looking her up, you do come across her actual name of Adana Paul. I hope I'm pronouncing her name correct as well. But when I tried to find do the research on what this was, where it came from, what this is about, it is listed as her being an actress for Darman Studios, which I'm assuming he has his own production company, whatnot. And the episode that she is a part of is Girl Wants to Be in the WWE featuring Chelsea Green. So we have a young lady that has come from WoW, which I'm pretty sure I'm going to assume that this is probably not made through the context of WoW or having someone from WoW negotiate this. I'm going to assume that she auditioned and got it, unless somebody tells me something otherwise. I have not seen how long this is supposed to be. I mean, there are links that are available. If I do come across it, I will make sure that I drop that in there somewhere so you can see exactly what it is I'm talking about. This is, I would assume, a big step for her, that she is able to do the acting thing now. But it does feel like it goes back to what I felt like at the beginning of this. Like, the acting is going to be the bigger deal. The acting is the thing that she is probably wanting to do. Wrestling may be the means to the end of doing that. But time, again, will tell. It'll unveil all as it goes on. But I was certain that it was her, and then it proved to be correct. I was like, all right, well, now I guess we know, potentially at least, where exactly she may have been during some of this downtime that WoW has been on the air, but we have not seen a Foxy Fierce to participate. The notes that I had is I don't know what series that he's producing, but it does appear to be like a full-on episode. When I last checked, it was somewhere in the nature of about 20 minutes or so. Now, will that come and be on someone's streaming platform outside of a YouTube or something like that? I don't know. But I can certainly see that, all right, she's had to put in some time in it. If it's a 20-minute episode, I'm pretty sure they put some time and effort into trying to make this thing look good. Looks, for the little bit that I saw, it looks fine. Also, the fact that they got Chelsea Green in it, that says something. I was like, there was some kind of money there, unless he just had a favor that he was able to call in, like, hey, come on in here and help me out for old time's sake. So maybe that'll be something that that we should keep our eyes out for. Again, and I'm going to spell it so that people know what I'm saying. DHAR Man, MANN Studios. And he's got a lot of subscribers. Like 25 million subscribers. So there's a real good chance that being in this could be the most that she is seen, even though she's on television. This could be the thing that kind of gets her face out there amongst more people. I know it's kind of weird to say, hey, she just left a nationally syndicated television show to do this YouTube thing, but the numbers don't lie. Last I saw when I was writing these notes, it was about 1.8 million views in about 8 days, 7-8 days. Do the math on that. There's not a match that she's been in that had that many views. So we will see if this does something for her, whether this will lend her to return to WoW or whether it will change the direction that she's going into someplace else. I would tend to go with the latter. She's probably going to go someplace else. Speaking of talent that may not be returning to WoW, I am going to go ahead now and officially assume that one Adriana Gambino also will not be returning to WoW. Why do I say that? Well, because the last time that I saw her social media, and I'm talking about her personal as Mafioso Valentina, she has listed on her IG as formerly known as Adriana Gambino, and also in parentheses, well, not parentheses, but we'll just go because I can't think of another word right now. But in parentheses, she has herself listed as currently a free agent. So there you have it. If we're going to go off of what she is putting in there, then I would assume that, yeah, she's probably out for the duration. And she also does have herself listed as one half of the NWA Women's Tag Team Champion. So there you go. I think that there's one less member that's returning. The alliance, I would assume, is probably done as we know it. But I also will say that this is probably for the best. At least as it relates to how she has been used. This is probably for the best. I like Adriana Gambino, but Adriana Gambino was not used well at all. Granted, she may have been hurt, which is why I believe she went into being a manager to begin with. But that company did not allow her to be a manager at all. It felt like her being there was largely just an ego trip for the owner, I guess. I don't even know how to describe it, but every single time that she came to ringside, no matter what the match was about for her client, no matter what it was for, what it was about, what the stakes were, or anything else, no matter what that was, she always went and sat next to David. Then I got it on good authority that was just written into the show. It's like, well, why would you write that into the show? They're like, all right, and when this match happens, Gambino comes and sits at the commentating booth. For what? She never got a chance to try and make the alliance work. As a mouthpiece, saying something, trying to put them over. She never got a chance to be at ringside for any title matches. She didn't come out with a brat pack at all. She came out with Reina Del Rey, but she would walk right past the ring, give her a little kiss on the cheek. All right, I'm going to sit over here now. Adriana Gambino was wasted. I cannot say that they wasted her as a wrestler because, again, I think she was hurt at the time, but they certainly wasted her as a manager and did not give her enough to work with to make that thing mean something. So my guess is going to be that maybe they'll continue on as the Brat Pack and Del Rey, possibly, but who knows? They've always kept church and state for the Brat Pack and the Alliance apart for some reason. So it may be another case of Del Rey has to wander around and find something else to do again until they attach her to somebody else or another tag partner. Or she's had the worst luck in that company as far as a sustained push is concerned. She's had the worst luck there. But anyhow, that's where we are with Miss, well, I can't call her Gambino anymore, with Mafioso Valentina, who, by the way, when I did see her Instagram about that, the picture was her in Japan, which was, of course, a big thing. It's like, oh, man, she's in Kurgan Hall? Great. That's like one of the hallmarks for wrestlers on the indies, that you get to go to Kurgan Hall, like this hallowed ground. So I was kind of pleased. I was like, all right, cool. She's got the chance to go over there and have a match. Awesome. And that is when I saw that her tags have changed, and she's now formerly Wow's Gambino, currently free agent. So we wish her the best as well as she goes forward. Back to what I skipped over earlier, and I don't know why they have this as some sort of surprise, because they pretty much told you who it is that's coming up anyway. But there's a post that has the legendary return to WoW. And we've got so many people on their Instagram like, oh man, I hope it's so-and-so. I hope it's Terry Gold or Jungle Girl, or maybe it's the Beast. It's got to be Amber O'Neal, and and AJ Mendez. She's gonna come back, and Patty Pizzazz. I mean, and it's Nikita from WWE. I was like, who are you kidding? All right, so Nikita Lyons, by the way. There are times I was like, I don't know how any of these people could possibly believe the things that they are saying. Nikita Lyons, well, first off, she hasn't been released by WWE. Secondly, I was like, you think that she would jump off of WWE regardless of where they have her to go back to WoW? She's not on their main show. She's been bumped down to Evolve, but she's still in the WWE system. So I can't imagine that they're going to just be like, all right, well, hey, we'll let you go back and be the lioness all over again. I don't think that she would want to do that. That just seems like a further step backwards. But all of the guessing that went on there is not the point. Although the guessing just was kind of entertaining, that they would just put all these just names like, yeah, this person's coming back to a legend. A legend is coming back to reclaim the spotlight. Now, that's a very loose use of the word legend. And before I go further, let me just go ahead and say, now, this is not an indictment of how good, bad, or whatever this person is, but fair is fair. She has never been presented as a legend. And I don't know why anybody would think or assume that. She hasn't done that in terms of stature, in terms of how long she's been wrestling. She hasn't done that in terms of championships won, money that she's drawn, media appearances, match quality. I mean, you name it. Whatever it is that you view a legend to be in pro wrestling. And I'm trying not to sound insulting, but she hasn't clicked any of those. And the person I'm talking about is Tadvik, formerly Tadvik the Gamer. I don't think she goes by that any longer. So yes, there you go. And now the reason I didn't even bother to say spoilers because they got it right there on their Instagram. Which is, again, I was like, why would you put, hey guys, guess who's coming when this legend makes a return, when literally a post away it says Tadvik returns. Was this supposed to be a surprise? I mean, it's a full-on post. After 11 years away, Tadvik returns home to WoW. Now, in fairness to her, in the times that I've seen her outside of WoW in recent years, it looked like she decided to step back into the wrestling game to some degree. And she's popped up a couple of places. She's been on the indies. I know she did that years ago when she wrestled against Layla Nakai, which probably explains why Layla Nakai is endorsing her so heavily on social media. I seen her in a 2 or 3 minute match on AEW Collision versus Harley Cameron, so she was just kind of the fodder for Cameron to beat. Seen her in OVW, where she took on Hollyhood Haley J, and in both in singles and in a tag match. So she has started to route herself around to different locations and different matches. And I guess we're going to talk past tense because this was back in September, last September. I would imagine that this might have been just a stop along the way as she was getting her feet wet back into the wrestling sphere. But yeah, I mean, and I don't want to tell them, hey, whoever you deem as a legend is your business, but that is a little bit of a push. Somebody who saw that post and did not read anything else is going to be disappointed. But then again, you're going to have some people out there that's going to be like, yeah, Tadvik, the gamer, she's back. You're going to get that too. But somebody that sat there on that post taking guesses like, oh man, I wonder who it's going to be. Is it going to be Patty Pizzazz or this person or that person or so on and so forth? Cage Heat, Ariel Sky. I mean, they just went down the line of everybody that they could possibly think of that's been on WoW's TV at any given point in time, basically. Somebody that took a guess there will be disappointed. And I'm sorry to say that, but the one thing that WoW has yet to have done successfully is create a star. They have stars within their show, but they have yet to have created a star. Somebody that when that music hits, people are going to lose their minds. And I'm sorry to say it, Tadvik is not going to be the one to change the trend of that. Especially when they already spoiled who it's going to be before you saw it. As of August the 16th, I said that there was a very good chance that WoW will probably not air in Atlanta, Georgia any longer. Well, that time has come. As of August 16th, WoW has stopped. It no longer airs within the city. Now, to be fair, that is not on WoW. It has nothing to do with how good, bad WoW was, because it's not just that show that they lost. It is everything that was on that channel, period. What they had done is the digital tier channel. And I know I'm talking TV talk right now. But what they did was they took the digital tier channel that was there and had shows like Family Feud and WoW and the neighborhood reruns or NCIS reruns, etc., etc., etc. The bull riding and all the other little third-party sports deals that have been going on. All of those They took that channel and just converted it into a new CBS channel. And the channel that it came from turned into an all news channel for the Atlanta area. So that being the case, it just kind of bumped everything that was on that not network, but on that secondary channel off. So all of it, like I said, not just WoW. I'm not going to just point the finger at them, but all of them had to go. And as far as this location is concerned, WoW is just collateral damage to that decision. So, that being said, if I do not catch WoW at work, probably not going to catch WoW. It's pretty much come to that now. It's like if I cannot catch it when I am on the job, or if I am not there on a Saturday or Sunday and I miss it, well then I gotta miss it. I cannot record that on my own time anymore. Now I say all of that to say this also. WoW as a website, they're going to have to update that because it still lists itself as being on that channel. And I'm saying with firsthand experience that's not there anymore. This is another thing that they are probably going to have to try and do the metadata on, although I don't think that they will do it, because I've said it for some time that individual things like the updating of the website, the metadata that goes on to the episodes when you're looking at it being recorded. Like at the time, I had it recorded on a tablet. That is the DVR that records stuff off of over-the-air broadcast. But anytime you got it, it just had outdated, not episode information, but like the logos outdated, the thumbnails were outdated, stuff like that. So I would suggest that they probably look into that if that was something that they are concerned about. I know there's a couple of other people that have had Reddit posts like, "WoW doesn't air my area anymore." And that's something I may have to look into myself. Like, how many markets did WoW start off in, and where are they now? Because I know I'm not the only one, just based on like I said, the statements that happened at other places. But how that would be fixed or resolved, who knows? They pretty much tell you, hey, you can stream WoW on Pluto and Paramount Plus, which is true, you can. They just don't stream anything up to date there, and I don't understand why. Last I checked, it was like weeks behind, in fact. And that was on Paramount Plus. It was like, how is it that they are so far behind on episodes? I mean, it's like at least a month. At least 1 month's time, they're just behind in episodes. So I don't know. Now, I haven't checked it recently because the last 2 or 3 times I did, it wasn't up to date, and I just got tired of looking. But we'll see. Time will tell. Also, it should be noted that for whatever reason, the Where to Watch banner that they have on their thing is also like ridiculously outdated. I mean, they got people that haven't been on that show in well over a year. I would think, at least go in there and update this to some degree. I'm sure you had the PDF files for every single person that's on that show. Make a new banner. I mean, some of these are like Gloria Glitter's in the outfit that she hasn't worn in over a year. So is Candy Crush. Foxy Fierce hasn't been there. The Beast hasn't been there. The Rebel Hayes, Siren, Ashley Blaze, all of them. Like, update this thing. That has been an ongoing trend with WoW and stuff outside of that show. Things do not seem to get updated when they should be updated. But it ain't my show, so they will continue doing whatever it is that they are doing. I'm also told, I have not seen it, but I'm told that Miami Sweet Heat is due to have a match outside of WoW. I didn't think that was going to be possible. Not that they couldn't have accepted the match. I'm just saying it seemed like such a hassle to have a match outside of WoW for whatever reasons. But it appears that they are going to have a match, and the last I saw of it, or was told, was against Flex Rated, and that's also within the state of Georgia. Now, I haven't seen anything else about that since I was told about it. And that was like a week ago. So, if anybody has seen it, heard it, has the poster for it, the date, or the location, whatever, any of that stuff, let me know. Because as far as I know right now, I'm reporting rumor. I have not. I saw the graphic sent to me, but I didn't have any information attached to that graphic. So, again, if you know where it is, know what I'm talking about, seen it, forward it to me or drop it in the comments or send it in my email so I can see where exactly this thing and who they're taking on, if this is accurate or not. I personally thought that WoW was going to stop anybody that tried to have a match outside of their company and try to be a WoW person or personality. But we will see. I'll keep my eyes open for it. All right. Well, I think that covers most of the news, but then we have one other thing that I wanted to do, and that is going through the top 10 women in wrestling history. I saw this some time ago, and I was going to do this episode back, but there was so much stuff going on, so much to talk about. It's like, I'm going to skip that right now, and I'll say that for another day. Well, today is another day. So I feel like maybe we can go into what I feel is the top 10 women in wrestling history. Now, keep in mind, I had to come up with my own criteria for this. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, I am breaking into my own program to tell you this. I originally had a top 10 women wrestling list. Not ranking, but the top 10 women in wrestling history as I saw it. And that was largely because of a post that I saw elsewhere. And I thought it'd be a fun thing to go through. Who we felt were the most influential women that existed in, all of wrestling. Of course, that list is subjective. And again, this wasn't a ranked list. It was just a list in general. However, for whatever reason, I have no goddamn idea why it did what it did. It picked up at number 5. Like it just started halfway through, and the rest of it was blank. And I just didn't feel like going back and re-recording the entire thing again. So I am breaking in just to give the summary of the first 5 because I don't want to go through it all over again. So let me just catch it up to speed, and then I'll catch my previous recording on the other side. So here it goes. Just to get her out of the way, I put in the Fabulous Moolah because, yes, she did hold control over wrestling, women's wrestling for the better portion of some decades. I gave honorable mention to Misty Blue Sims, who did interject her group of women's wrestling in the early 80s. Number 9, I put in Gail Kim and Awesome Kong. I ranked them together because I thought that I felt like you really couldn't do one without the other. They did set a bar, and it was a they. They collectively did that through their work together. Number 8, I put in Trish Stratus because she became the WWE's template for what they wanted out of a women's wrestler for a long time. Be pretty, be athletic, and we can train you. Although they didn't take into account that Trish had her own charisma / drive and desire to be good at what she was doing. Number 7, I put in Alundra Blaze, a.k.a. Medusa, which, she is kind of a forgotten figure in women's wrestling, but she made my list largely because she was around and cranked out for America a good match when it was not expected, particularly when we're talking about her at SummerSlam versus Bull Nakano. I think that match was ranked number 3, third runner-up of the best matches that year, so I felt like that needed to be. And even though she's not recognized, she is the first woman to main event a Monday Night Raw. She did not finish out the show. The show finished out with a Shawn Michaels interview segment, but she is the first woman to main event Monday Night Raw for the Women's Championship against Bertha Faye, October 23rd, 1985, no matter what the WWE says. Number 6, I put in Jacqueline, because she, for the modern era, and on a national stage, she isn't the first black woman to be out in the pro wrestling world, but on a national platform, she certainly is one that has opened the doors, and it cannot be discounted that once you see somebody that you can identify with as being able to do the thing that you want to do, it does make it more accessible for you. So she needed to be on this list. And I also put honorable mention to Ethel Johnson, Babs Wingo, and Marva Scott. And that would be about it. I had to run through that, and then we pick back up on the other side of this with me talking about number 5 through 1. So now that I've gotten this, I'm sorry to interrupt my own show, but back to the show, and thank you for indulging me. However, for most fans watching at that time, they know that the quality of matches that they started seeing out of the women on NXT helped push that. There were oftentimes that people were saying that the women's matches were still in the show, in much the same vein as the knockouts were kind of alleged to do that several years prior. They're like, these are the highest rated segments on the show, the women's match. Well, when you got to the 4 Horsemen era of NXT, the gold and black era of NXT, the super indie NXT, when the matches mattered, and they still do, but you get what I'm saying, they helped usher in an entirely different era for women's wrestling in the WWE, period. And I can't put that on the shoulders of one or the other. It's got to be on all 4, with honorable mention to both Paige and Emma. The forgotten great match of NXT. They kind of got lost in the shuffle once Flair, Banks, Bayley, and Lynch came along. But the first match, like I said, honorable mention to them was Paige and Emma when they went after the NXT Championship. My number 4, another one that's probably not very well liked in the wrestling industry these days, for obvious reasons, is Ronda Rousey. But we cannot discount the fact that there probably would not have been an Evolution pay-per-view out of WWE had she not been in that main event. Had she not been in that company, I doubt that they would have ever even thought about trying to do it. It's less of a risk now because it's streaming. It's not like they got to buy, satellite uplinks and work with the pay-per-view companies and things like that. They didn't have to do that. Now they don't. They can do Evolution once a week if they felt like it. But at the time, yes, it was still in streaming, but there was still the question of, will people watch? Can we sell the tickets? Ronda Rousey walked into the WWE as a box office draw. Also something that is somewhat forgotten about. But she walked into that company already made. She did not need the WWE. If we can borrow or paraphrase a line from Joey Styles' little shoot promo, she didn't go to WWE because she needed a job. She had a job. She had money. She had offers. She was already there. She was already a box office attraction. The WWE only needed to try and take advantage of that, and they did. Now, I don't think they parted on the best of terms, and she seems like she's gotten, dipped her toe in the wrestling waters a few times following WWE in smaller locations just to kind of help her friends out, Shafir and Baszler, and I can't remember the fourth one now. It'll probably come to me at the wrong time, but I didn't think to write it down. Anyhow, the point being is that you cannot discount what she offered up to that industry, particularly in the WWE. And because where the WWE goes, the industry follows. It's not like Evolution was the first ever all-women's pay-per-view. It was one of several. But I honestly think that LPWA probably owns the legacy on being the first. But having it done in the WWE is, I don't want to say that's what counts, but it certainly helps because it reaches more people. There is no denying that they have a wider net to throw than everybody else on the planet. And so having her help facilitate that, she belongs on this. Wendi Richter, my number 3. She was a short, burning flame in WWF's history. Wasn't there very long. But she was, at one point in time, whether people would believe this or not, she was arguably the second most popular person in the WWF at that point. And a large amount of that was built off of she was the only other person in the company who had an outside celebrity attachment. Hogan had Mr. T. Both of them had been in Rocky 3. Mr. T was on the number 1 television show at the time, the A-Team, so he was being seen by millions of people. He was influencing kids. They were going around dressed like him with the suspenders, wannabe gold chains, the socks on the outside of his pants and whatnot. And Hogan was attached himself to that. Maybe not intentionally, but he attached himself to that. Wendi Richter was on the opposite side of that story. She had Cyndi Lauper. Cyndi Lauper brought attention to that company just as much as Mr. T did. And she got to attach herself to Wendi Richter and vice versa. Because of that, she got more attention than the average wrestler did in the WWF at that time. Arguably could have been one of the bigger names if it hadn't have crossed up with some backstage, I won't say politics, but asking for her value. We'll put it that way. And I don't doubt her. I know there's some people out there to this day like, well, she shouldn't have asked. I'm never going to say that. I'm never going to say that she shouldn't have asked for the money. She should have asked for the money. But if you're going to ask, you just have to be prepared for the consequence. I'm pretty sure she wasn't expecting what she got. She's the victim of the first screw job that Vince McMahon Jr. performed with the Spider Lady and Moolah getting the championship back. But for a brief moment there, she had the look that represented the change of the guard. She had the MTV vibes going on with her at that time. And go back and look at her at that point. Her walking around with Cyndi Lauper, and that's something that can't be really quantified now. The closest thing I could tell you, it would be like if, I don't know, Becky Lynch or let's use somebody that's not a big name yet. It'd be like if Tiffany Stratton right now had somehow become attached to Taylor Swift or Beyonce. That would be the closest equivalent that I could give it at this point. Even though they're probably bigger stars than Lauper was then, but they have more platforms to deal with. Number 2, Chyna. Chyna was not a masterful worker. Well, let me not say worker. In-ring talent. Her work was, different than what she was doing performing move to move. I don't think anybody was going to turn around and be like, yeah, she was incredible in the ring. I don't think that no one's going to debate that point. But what we can say, and what we can really look at following her, is that she became a template also. She was kind of the first on that stage to be presented with a body like she had. And what happened past that point is you got your Chyna clones. In much the same way as you had Road Warrior clones, and much the same way as you had the Rock and Roll Express clones, when it works in any given field, somebody's going to make a copy of it. Asia, Midnight, Raka Khan. There's somebody that's out there bodybuilding right now that calls herself the Chyna syndrome. And she looks just like Chyna. Like a shorter version of her, but she's She's done the hair, the outfit, all this. Like, clearly, China was her hero. And she wears the China shirts. China, and she, like I said, she goes by China Syndrome. And last I saw, she started training for wrestling. Now, I don't know if she's still doing it now, but the point being is this all stems from China being involved in wrestling, period. When you can walk into some industry and you start getting people wanting to copy you because of your success, that means you were successful or good at what you did. And that is in every walk of life. You don't get a bunch of Star Wars knockoffs if Star Wars fails. But Star Wars had a bunch of knockoffs. You don't get a bunch of Jaws knockoffs if that for Die Hard. How many different ways did we see Die Hard thrown out there to the public once that movie hit the scene? Die Hard on the boat, Die Hard on the plane, Die Hard on the train, Die Hard on the bus. You got a bunch of those. B-level versions of it. We'll just put it back in a skyscraper, but this time it'll be a woman. If it's successful, it will be copied. China was successful at what she did, regardless of whether we, thought that she was great bell to bell or not. She was something that was successful and copied, therefore influential. And my number one, and again, this is an unranked list, is Mildred Burke. And I think for all the reasons that you would imagine, and having read the book and having, caught portions of the movie, I still got to watch the whole thing. She will put her as an advocate for women's sports well into an era where that was not the norm. She was a very influential champion and kind of respected as a shooter. One of the first big box office attractions in women's sports. I don't know how you could not have her on the list as being influential. Now, again, I did do a little bit of a cheat with some of these because I lumped them together and I gave honorable mentions and things like that. But those are the ones that, in my eyes, are some of the most influential women in wrestling, period. Do you have anybody else that you thought should have been on the list? Is somebody that I left off, somebody that you feel like, hey, well, this person did it and here's why? Feel free. Drop your comments below. Love to see it. Love to read it. Now that we got through that, that was a lot of work there. We will take our normal break, hit you with our Talking the Talk and our musical interlude, and when we come back, then we'll go right off into the review of this past week's Wow. Stay tuned.
Brittney, just one quick question. Why'd you do it?
Why? Because fuck Gypsy Mac.
Hey, Brittney, what's your problem, huh? What, you want to duck and dodge? You know what? She wants a shot at my title so bad. I have a great idea. First blood match at Future of Women's Wrestling.
So everybody's mad, huh? Y'all mad that I came out here and did exactly what I said I was gonna do? Y'all mad that there's a new Raw Women's Champion? Well, I'm mad too. I'm mad I'm not signed yet. I'm mad that I had to take a risk and give up everything that I had. Top spot at a top TV promotion. My house, my time with my son. I literally dropped everything I had and drove 16 hours out here to H-Town just to start all the way at the bottom, all the way over, and prove myself again and again, putting in the work, helping people along the way, all while still traveling and still entertaining those across the world. All for a bunch of people who don't appreciate me. got no friends here, no family, nobody putting a battery in my back. And y'all mad? Y'all mad I got me a dub? I'm sick of this. I'm done proving myself to y'all. This win, that was for me. This is personal. And this title, it ain't going nowhere. Because you might be mad, but none of y'all bad enough to come and take it from me. So be mad, stay mad, it really doesn't matter. Because I ain't going anywhere until it's my banner that's hanging up on that wall. And it's my name y'all remember. Because I'm Hollyhood Haley J, and I don't play.
And we are back. This episode of WoW in Review is episode 349, season 3, episode 49 for them. The title, Girls and Dolls, the air date, August the 16th. Chronological number 153. And it starts off with a recap of Miami Sweet Heat versus Penelope Pink and Holly Swag. It shows the feud. It shows no contest in both matches. So we have recapped that this feud has not really progressed. I mean, they've had matches, but it hasn't met its conclusion as of yet. So I assume that this would be the hook to keep people somewhere in line, like, oh, well, I'll come back and I'll watch this. The next segment is the opening match. It's BK Rhythm with Gigi Gianni, no Adriana Gambino, taking on Gabriella Cruz. And the first thing that I noticed is that McClain brings up that, Gabriella Cruz hasn't won yet, which I immediately wrote down. All right, that means that she's probably winning tonight. And wouldn't you know it, she won. Sorry, there's really not a lot of stuff to go on about that. But yeah, she won her first match. The second that David brought up the fact that she hadn't won a match yet. He tends to do that a lot. I've noticed that, probably because I am sitting here taking notes, to be fair. I'm not going to say that it's such an obvious thing that everybody in the world is going to notice, but he does tend to do that a lot. He seems like he wants to, I don't know why he would want to do it, but he obviously knows what the result is going to be, and then he'll say something that hints towards the opposite. I mean, Lumberjack, well, we'll finally have a winner tonight. There's no way that this could not go wrong. That, stuff like that. And this is another one of those cases. It's, she hadn't won, and maybe she'll get lucky. Then of course, she wins. So, there you go. As a side note, I think this match in particular brought up, I had to write this down and highlighted it. Zane is killing me with saying David so much. He is killing me with this. Oh my gosh. Now I will say, for the benefit of those of you that might have noticed or caught it or what have you, please go and check out the review that was written up by Santana. Because she did something that I was thinking about doing, but I was like, I'm dreading trying to calculate how many times his name is mentioned or said out of Zane's mouth in any given match or episode. But you know what? Santana did. She went and put match by match how many times he said this in the episode. So I don't really push people, but I'm imploring you, go read this. So you'll see that it's not just me. I mean, she's got it written down. And the way I figured it, I'm not going to give the numbers, but like I said, I'll let you read through it. The way I figured, he's basically within every 2 minutes, because we're going to take out commercials. I know it's an hour, but it's essentially about 45 to 48 minutes. Taking that out, he averages about 2.5 times of saying David's name to every minute. Every minute. At least twice, so every 30 seconds or so. Ooh, well, just the thought of that, oh my God. Anyhow, yeah, go. The previous review is going to be 152 on my channel. What was the review name? Let me get the review name here. Lumberjacks and Comebacks. 152 Lumberjacks and Comebacks. That is the one that if you haven't read anything, read that one. Okay, so the next thing I wrote down here is, where's the Brat Pack's manager? Like I said at the beginning of this, Gigi Gianni's out there. Adriana Gambino is not. She has been wasted. I know I'm repeating what I said earlier, but how was she slotted as a manager who never manages is something. The match is fine. I think that the whole opening rap is they're really running that into the ground with her now. I don't know if it was a massive portion of her character or persona to begin with, but it hasn't really pushed anything. It hasn't incited anything. It's not getting over with the audience. I mean, we know it's mostly a cultivated audience, and because of that, it just feels like it's just there to be there. It's without any real point in mind. And without that, it's just part of the show. It's like the hat, it's like the jacket, it's like the headphones. I just have it because it's part of the gimmick. But I would, hope or like to see it do something. Drive some point home. Maybe that part of the promos that help push some narrative, but they're always in the middle of nothing. And then Gabrielle Cruz had pretty much stood over there and just smiled and took whatever it is that she had coming to her verbally. She's already going into the route of every babyface that exists on WoW. Just bland and, well, gosh darn it, I'll give it my best. That's what she's heading towards. But as stated, the match was fine. Let's talk about the end of it, where she did the impossible and she actually pinned BK Rhythm, because Rhythm and Gianni can only win like once when the full moon is out every 3 months, they'll get a pinfall victory over somebody. So for whatever team that happens to be there during the witching hours of whatever the full moon happens to be, you got to watch your back. Any other time, you're fine. So there's a point in the match where Cruz looks like she's trying to go for a roll-up, and Rhythm catches her in what would have been her finish move. And I shouldn't say a roll-up. She might have been going for a wheelbarrow maneuver or some description, but we'll never know because Rhythm caught her. But before she could apply whatever it is that she was looking to apply, Cruz got herself free, rolled through, got her in a great roll-up, and pinned her. 1, 2, 3. And so shocking was this that even she had surprise on her face, like, what? I won? Now, that probably would have played a little better had this losing streak been pronounced to some sort. But, I mean, let's be honest. Rhythm and Gianni have been sacrificial lambs here, so winning over them, I don't know if that's that big of a deal inside of the 3 losses that she's had already. After this, she's jumped immediately, but then she's able to fight off the Brat Pack. So they're talented, but I'm calling time of death. They have nowhere to ascend to in WoW. Unless something massive changes all of a sudden. They have nowhere to ascend to. They can't accomplish anything. They're part of a group that doesn't even back them up. They don't have a manager that, even though they have a manager. And they can barely buy a win, regardless of how good they are in ring. Talented, but they have nowhere to ascend to in WoW. So I can only assume that the options or the objective there is, let's just be here and be on TV. Ain't nothing wrong with that if that's your choice. But if they had any aspirations of being anything bigger in wrestling overall, this place is not the place to do that. They are not going to help you. So anyhow, like I said, she gets jumped. I wasn't really fond of the punches and shots to the back there. Didn't really sell the pain, but what can you do? Even the best of them have their quirks that they're not the best at. And maybe punching in forearm shots is theirs. I don't know. But in any case, Cruz fights him off, and then we go to the next segment. That's Jessie Jones. She is backstage with Big Rick Betty, and she is irate. This is a segment for the Environmentalist stealing Jessie's stick, which was gifted to her by Tracy Smothers, or at least that's what we were told by Zane. Jones cuts a heated promo and she looks the part. The one response that I got in the room is that, oh man, they look like a lunatic or crazy or this. They didn't understand what the anger was about. And that was the problem. And I would dare guess that they weren't the only ones that didn't understand what the anger was about. It was mentioned that, well, this was gifted her by Tracy Smothers. Well, that audience may not even know who Tracy Smothers is. That, it hasn't been really explained why this stick would have any sort of value beyond somebody that they may or may not know gave it to her. She hadn't had a chance to tell anybody, well, they gave me for this. This is what he had it for. I've had it engraved with his name or something. Just to get across, this is not just a stick. It's not just a lump of wood as most people would see it. This has sentimental value. This was as close to that as we got because, like I said, she was fired up. She was irate. She looked directly into the camera and made it clear, I don't want to do an interview. You took something that meant a lot to me and you'd have no idea what you just done. And as fired up and as good as that was, and Big Rig co-signed on it, as fired up and as good as that was, it's still, in my estimation, has not been explained overall the why. It's just been mentioned, like I said, by name. Tracy Smothers gave her that. Well, how much time would it take to, hey, we need to probably do a sit down with Jesse Jones or some level of interview for her to explain it. Maybe get some B-roll shots of Tracy Smothers so people know who he is. It was one of those cases where Zane tries and he says, hey, that was her mentor, Tracy Smothers, et cetera, et cetera. But I know that there was an episode where they didn't have a lot of, match to fill. So they start filling it up with other things like a minute long recap and stuff like that. That was an episode they could have had that in there. There was time. I would think, give a minute or two, just a minute and a half to that, where she could tell them, hey, you made a mistake and here's why. But as it is, we are, like a lot of angles and a lot of programs and storylines that they do, we're dependent on the commentators having to clarify it. They just recently got a little better with that because we saw the top tier thing happening in the back and the interview that they had following that. If that effort there was applied here, I think this would be a better thing because honestly, all around, and I can't even believe I'm saying it, everybody did a good job. And I say that because of Sprout Greens. I cannot believe that I am saying that. But everybody there did a good job. The only other thing that I wish that would have been taken into account was why did Scout Parker have to lose to Americana to go into this feud? She shouldn't have been put in a position to lose. And if they're going into this thing with Big Rigs and Bourbon, at least keep them somewhat afloat. They're so up and down. And I didn't see how her doing a job to Americana was going to help this. Her return meant nothing. She didn't do a promo. She didn't have anything afterwards, and we haven't seen her since. Scout Parker, on the other hand, was actively involved in a feud, or at least they had already set it up. They mentioned it before she came out here, and she's in the episode following this in said feud. I don't think that she should have been put in a position to lose walking into this. But what's done is done. And following the backstage segment with the angry Big Rigs and Bourbon combo, we go to the next segment, which is the match itself. The Environmentalist versus Big Rigs and Bourbon. And Scout Parker comes out with the stick and one of the tiniest signs I've ever seen. But at least she had the sign. Now, if they had said that, hey, they knocked them out with the signs and that was what I saw, I would believe it. I mean, if you crack that thing across the back of somebody's head, yeah, I would think you would knock them out. Why wouldn't they have something like that when they was in the middle of this thing? But she comes out with the end semi pollution sign on the stick. Jesse Jones and Big Rig run out and jumpstart the match. Which, great. Because every babyface doesn't have to be, all right, guys, we're going to just try our best. It is the thing that makes Jesse Jones and Big Rig Betty stand out. That they are willing, more or less, to fight fire with fire. And they're in a situation where they should be angry. They should not care. It should mean more than just the win. Which is going back to the whole, every once in a while you need something beyond just a championship. This is what I mean. They have a personal issue that was incited by a match that led to this match. It was theft of personal property. And we saw the theft. We didn't see the actions that took place beforehand, but we saw the theft. So, I mean, you can understand why Jesse is angry and pissed off. I just wish that the origins of this feud had been seen from the get-go. So once we get past the initial jumping of the Environmentalists, it turns into a regular match. I still am going to say I like Scout. I think there's something there with Scout. Scout bumps for their team, obviously. It's just like shit. As far as getting in there and taking the back elbows and taking the back drops and clotheslines and everything else that was going on with Big Rigs and Bourbon to the heel combination, it felt like Scout was doing the lion's share of the work. And if she is the better of the two, I am not going to be mad about that at all. I still am not fond of the names, especially, I've gotten used to Scout. And I think that given the right circumstances, she could probably get the thing over. I am probably never going to like Sprout. I just hate that they decided to have it right next to each other in terms of pronunciation. But one thing that she surprised me on at the end was her verbiage. And we will get to that. This was done very well, in my opinion. But to get back to another point that was made, I wrote down the match has heat, but does the audience understand why there's heat? And I wrote, it feels like it wasn't explained, which is, everything I just said before. I also wrote down, why does David carry on about what they eat? Any time there's like a comeback for Big Rigs and Bourbon, somewhere along the line is something about fishing and possums and possum stew. Like, what does he think that they do in their day-to-day life out there? Like, all we like to do is eat roadkill. Jeez. Oh, my goodness. Anyhow, yeah, I don't know why that is always something, but it just seems to come up. If it's not drinking and being some sort of redneck alcoholic, is about them cooking and fishing and hunting and possum stew. Oh, boy. Anyhow. I also have to bring up that this is one of those points in the show where Maestro, we haven't mentioned him in a while, got back to doing what Maestro was doing when he would just see something and look for a problem that wasn't there. He saw Scout Parker's near perfectly executed neck breakers. Like, see, she just messed up. It was like, no, she didn't mess up. She gave it a good wind up to do the neck breaker. That was not a mess up. Yeah. I love you, Maestro. Anyhow, Jones is in the ring catching most of the heat once Scout gets the comeback with the kick in the guts, and I can't remember if she raked the house now, but I remember the kick in the guts off to the neck breaker, and then the Environmentalists take control. Unfortunately, it might be a little distracting looking at Scout in this match because her hair clip was loose. But she didn't let it stop her. She still did what she was supposed to do. Good for her. She would fix it a little later on. Not important to the match. Just decided to point that out. There is a point where Sprout, and I'm trying to be clear about these goddamn names, but yeah, there's a point in there where Sprout comes into the ring and she gets some kicks in on Jesse Jones that clearly don't connect. But she goes on and does the broccoli eating spot. Okay, maybe that was good for them. I could decide that she wanted to walk around the match with a bag full of broccoli just for this. I don't know if that's something that they will get over, but time will tell. So she takes this broccoli out of the bag and shoves it in Jesse's mouth for whatever reason. Didn't really help anything there. Like I said, maybe she'll get a thing over at some point. But she shoves it in her mouth, and then as Jesse kind of spits it out, it's all over the mat. And then Sprout smacks her head down into the broccoli. Jesse then spits the broccoli out into Sprout's face to try to get away. Sprout's able to grab the leg. Jesse's able to kick off. And then we get the tags, and then here comes Scout and Big Rig Betty. Scout then gets in there, and she starts taking the shots. I think 2 clotheslines or a back elbow before she gets the backhand and does a complete spin around before Big Rig gives her a super kick. Big Rig is obviously completely in control of this exchange at this point, right up into the little ripcord clothesline where Sprout Greens, these names, where Sprout Greens has to save her so she can stop the pin. Here is where I was proud of, Wow, for, I guess, allowing it out. Whoever put this together. Scout reaches over and grabs the stick with the sign on it. I love this because it's one of the few times where they actually had a weapon that would look like it would do the damage that it's purported to do. Not some stupid book or yardstick or cardboard signs. No, this is a big piece of lumber. She grabs it, tucks it between her, into her body, while Big Rig's on the other side of her. She pulls her back, and when she gets the opportunity, she turns and swings that thing across the side of Big Rig's head. Knocks her out. It goes out of the ring. Now Greens can do the same thing. She takes this stick, nails it into Jesse's stomach. Now, the only thing that I wish had been different in the match is it looked like at a point the referee had to find a reason, or Jesse had to give him a reason not to be paying attention. And I'm sure that, a good portion of what it was, because she didn't have any reason to really get down on the floor and walk around to Sprout. But she did. I mean, she is painted as Big Rig was out on the floor and Jesse saw it. And because she points out like, hey, and then she gets down and just walks around, and that's when they had their confrontation. But we didn't see much of that, and it just made it look like she walked around there pretty much to stand around. We didn't see the ref say, hey, no fighting on the floor or whatever, which I can only assume that that's what he had to have done to make her stop and pause. But it just wasn't on camera. As much as I'm saying that, it's not like I have a better solution either. I do believe if you're going to say, hey, I don't think this works for me, have a better solution. I don't have a better solution, so I'm going. So regardless of whether I liked it or not, I'm just going to say that it worked. You know, it was the best option available for them to do the things that they needed to do, and I was happy with the match. It was the right outcome. Scout knocks Big Rig out. She gets the pinfall over her. Good. And that was at the same time while Sprout is hitting Jessie in the ribs, preventing her from getting in. So they get the win. The heels won, and they cheated to do it. How about that? That is what I was looking for. You know, it's not, they don't have to, they didn't have to get a win just by being mean and getting a win. They're the heels. We want to see them cheat to accomplish their goal, and they cheated to accomplish the goal. I almost felt like applauding. And then I got the surprise of Sprout getting on the mic and actually sounding good. She cuts a pretty good promo afterwards. And it didn't even feel like she had it riddled with puns and this and that. She just felt like a normal person. Like not what I was expecting at all. I was so shocked. So shocked. I did not get anything that I expect. I fully expected her to be, and I'm not taking shots, but all due respect to them, I fully expected her to cut a promo just like Goldie Collins and Katarina Jinx, where it's just eat your greens and this, that, and the other, and whatever. Yes, the whole environmentalist theme was in there. Yes, there was something about parsley. But it came in so naturally within what she said and how she delivered it. And it didn't even feel like she was being... Sprout Greens, of all people, didn't even feel like she was a cartoon character when she was talking. I mean, it didn't come off like over the top. It didn't feel like the whole Disney villainous thing. None of that. She felt like a normal person whose name happens to be Sprout Greens. Give me more of that. That's what I meant when I said some time ago, is like, you know, maybe some of them will be able to get these stupid gimmicks over if they actually had something that could, some microphone time, something to say, whatever the case may be. Maybe the Classmaster would have made me believe in the Classmaster if she was a good talker or she had the opportunity to talk. I'll never know because I don't remember her getting the microphone except for the one time that she sat down in commentary and maybe when she first got there. But I was legitimately shocked. Maybe my bar was low. Maybe I was, I know I was expecting something else entirely when she got the microphone, but she just sounded like, oh man, okay, she's cutting the promo here. Good. Applause. And I like the camera shot. Sometimes I get on the production, but I like the camera shot that happened there too, because she started off with the camera on the hard camera side, but she was looking at the camera on the corner. When they switched to the camera on the corner, now you can see them in order of depth. In a row, Greens in front, Parker behind her. On the floor, we got a beat up Jessie Jones. She's doing the promo, doing a good job of it, by the way. Parker gets the closing line. Take a hike. Now, but as this is happening, we see Jessie Jones climbing herself into the ring and trying to get in there. And then by the time she does, I mean, obviously she was going to wait till the promo was finished. It would have been cool if she had gotten there and interrupted it. But I'm fine with her coming in at the end. She gets in there, takes a swipe at Parker, but they run off. So if there was anything that I would have wanted to see different, I wish he could have ran after her, but I guess we have to go with, well, she can't leave her partner on the floor and by herself, but, it's without seeing it on camera. And I think if I wrote down correctly, that portion of it wasn't really illustrated that her partner, Big Rig, was still down and out, so she couldn't really chase after him. But, because oftentimes we get the babyface force field where something happens and they just, for whatever reason, they can't go running after them. Something's stopping me. Some invisible force is preventing me from doing this. But here, we got a little bit of a reason. I just wish that she didn't have it. Would have liked to have seen her chase after him, but I cannot knock anything in this match, quite honestly. There are things, like I said, maybe I would have wanted it positioned a little different, but that's not a wrong. That's just me. That's just my personal thing and how it's presented on TV. But as far as how they did it from top to bottom, the execution, the use of the gimmick that they had, the promo afterwards, the match itself, I was thumbs up on all of it. Next segment was a recap of Chainsaw and Daisy Lane and their top tier feud. And McLean did the voiceover here. Nothing against him. I would have just preferred a different voice. They treat this as if it were live. Like, hold on, we got, that. It's like, we have something happening right now. And it goes cut to the next segment, and Top Tier's interviewed with Sibley Scoles. This was treated seriously, and not for comedy. They did their normal shtick, but it wasn't played up. We'll put it that way. I'm not a huge fan of Top Tier. We all know that, but this made me wish I had more out of this than the poorly done angles and self-grandizing promos. This felt a little bit more of what they need to push Top Tier as a group, as a faction. I mean, they're obviously getting win after win after win after win after win, but they need to establish something other than we're the greatest team, all the professionals, that. They're always going to do that. They always, that's going to be the hook of them by and large. But I felt like, let's start with Sibley here. I felt like this is a far better segment performed by all parties than I would normally have. When I saw Top Tier in the backstage thing with what was that, Lane last week, it felt like a bad acting job of a Mean Girls production or whatever the case may be. I feel like they are better suited in an interview environment opposed to an acting environment. That way they don't have to act. They can perform the parts that they have trained themselves to perform. They don't necessarily need to have a script on, when they're doing that. They could be bullet points in an environment like this. Scoles did not have to sit there and look off camera. She had people to interact with that were right there by her. And it somewhat forced her to play into the scene, where they have to be as, well, not threatening to her, but they're serious. And by proxy of that, she basically had to be serious. Now, it was still probably not her natural face in a situation that was she be concerned about her health or something like that. But it was a little better than having Scoles hyping up a situation and not looking at the people, looking at some phantom thing offline. It was a little bit better than having Top Tier have to, act the Mean Girls part in the background of, some poorly produced segment. This was better for them. I feel like. I appreciate the effort of the segment. I wish they had done a better job with the segment. We'll talk about the one backstage with Lane and Fury. The one they forgot to turn the microphone on. But Scoles responded accordingly to all the things that were going on around her. The next segment, Top Tier versus Chainsaw, Daisy Lane, and Fury. This was labeled as Monsters in Metal. All right. This is where I start flipping the other way towards in the Top Tier deal. And their angles, not necessarily their personalities, but just, this. So the babyfaces come out first, and then Campanelli comes out alone, which I wrote, this is screaming angle alert. We know full well that she has never come out there by herself. It's like, we might as well just tell me that they're going to jump you from behind. Again, if this is what they were trying to accomplish, then, whatever. It just didn't necessarily work for me. So we start off, and they jump the baby faces. They kick the Lane and Fury out, and they all try to jump on Chainsaw. Chainsaw's too strong. She's fighting off all three of them. All right, so you would think, even just based off the first time Chainsaw came in, that she might be able to just stay in there and fight her by herself, fight the entire team. But, of course, we know Top Tier is better than that. And they proved it by going through this match the way that they go through every match. I also wrote down, did Fury do anything here? I like Fury. And she's a lovely young lady. And this is certainly not her doing or her fault. I think she was in this match for, 10, 15 seconds, maybe. Possibly, maybe 30 if we're going to be generous. But after that, I forgot that she did anything. So I didn't get the whole feel of the Monsters in Metal vibe. It didn't. I only mention that because it didn't feel like a team. It felt like a tag team taking on the Trios champions. Fury was just there after her initial interactions. I legitimately forgot that she had done anything in the match. So I don't know how well I feel about the match. And it's not even out of execution. I thought everybody here did fine. I've said before, I can't get on Top Tier for in-ring work or execution, whether that is practice ahead of time, whether that's improv. There's some really good execution that goes on there. Well, Campanelli's got one of the best neck breakers in the business, and she executes that sharpshooter very well. She sinks in. I've said multiple times, she did it 1,000 times better than The Rock ever had. So it's not anything like that. It's just, as I'm watching this match, it felt like Fury was less a part of it, so I didn't get even though it's not like they hyped them up as, hey, it's Monsters in Metal. I'm just going off of how they've labeled it, how they sent it out to me in the press, and how they pushed it as a team preceding that. I didn't get the feel of the team here. So anyhow, Daisy Lane at some point gets in, and Daisy is being treated as competitive. So there is one evolutionary point from her being pep rallied to this. Beforehand, she wouldn't have been competitive. She would have just been beaten on. It made sense that the heat would be gotten on her, and that would be the target, and that's the one that they would go after. So I was perfectly fine with all of this. I was surprised by and enjoyed the little bite you back spot, because they had both already done it. They both already done this to other people and established that they are willing to bite. And bite for no reason. Well, I can't say no reason for Lane here, but Lane had a reason. Lane bit her back, and that was another one of those points. I was like, I want to applaud this young lady for that spot match. Like, hey, bite me, I'll get you too. That was it was a nice little spot for her. Now, it didn't help, of course, within the kayfabe universe of the match. It probably wasn't a good decision, but as entertaining as it was, it wasn't a good choice. But, we're going with how the match is done. So, anyhow, Top Tier pretty much beat up on Lane for a little while longer, up until she's able to get herself free from the clutches of Campanelli. Was the last one in the ring at that time. It was where Campanelli attempts to try a wheelbarrow maneuver of some sort on Lane. Lane's able to reverse it, and she turns it into a bulldog. Even though it's not a running bulldog, she turns it into a bulldog. She struggles to get over to get the tag. She gets to her partner. Campanelli struggles to get the tag, but she does not. Well, actually, I think that she did get somebody in there. Made a tag to Crush. Crush just didn't run in first. Campanelli was the first one to turn around and run at Chainsaw, despite the fact that Crush was legal. Glitter then tried to run in and attack Chainsaw, and she also got tossed into the corner on top of Campanelli. If there was any one spot in this match that I didn't like, it was this one. And that's largely because when Crush comes into the ring, we got Campanelli and we got Glitter sitting in the corner. And they're waiting. And they're waiting. And they're waiting because now they got to wait for this biting to be done. And act like we have no physical ability to get out of here before that's finished. I'm not a fan of the aerial shot that they got there either. But I like that Crush tried to finish this with a Superwoman punch, but the aerial shot took something away from that. You can't see the elevation of the punch looking down on it. So again, that shot that's not anything on the talent in the ring. That's just the production. Takes away from what would have been very noticeable. So anyhow, she tries to Superwoman punch. Chainsaw catches it. She bites the hand that was about to smack her in the face. Then she sends Crush into the corner with all three. Avalanche in the corner. And this is where we get babyface stupidity time. Because this seems to have happened a number of times with them where somebody will do something that should have very well have been the finish, but for whatever reason, they don't take advantage of it. Well, this is another one of those points. So we got Chainsaw, who just cleared out the ring, and we've already established that she could beat up all three of them because she just did. She did it in the beginning, and she did it here. And then as Glitter and Campanelli go down to the floor, she is able to get Crush in a choke slam. Now, we know that she's beating people with a choke slam, so that should have been it. Should have been done. But in our little universe, she decides that it's a better idea to tag off to my partner and friend, Daisy Lane, and spin around face first into Candy Crush's knees. Which is basically what happened. And so after that, then we get the heels. They come back in, not cheating, of course. Beat up on beat up on Chainsaw just to hold her down after they had already gotten rid of Fury off of the apron. Keep Chainsaw away from saving Lane long enough for them to get a 1, 2, 3. There we go. Another clean win by Top Tier. What can I say? Like that's what I mean there. I was like, it's hard to say that they're lying or that they're heels that are stretching the truth. They do win all the time. So that's why I was so impressed with the Environmentalists earlier. If you be a heel, cheat. I ain't saying that you got to cheat every single match, but if ever there was a match to justify them doing it, it was probably this one. When you have the alleged monster on the other side. But anyhow, there's 1,000 right ways to do something. I'm not saying that mine is the way. I'm just saying, every once in a while it'd be nice to see our heel team that we're supposed to dislike for allegedly cheating and being dishonest. And this is what their own baby faces have said. They cheated to win. They cheated. I was like, when? When did they ever cheat? It would back up the claim of the baby faces if they did. But they don't. They pretty much win all the time just through precision and teamwork. How are you saying that this is cheating? Even in this match, they didn't cheat to do anything. They had a distraction spot, yes, and that was before the bell rang. And even then, it didn't help them. Chainsaw fought them off until we got to the end. It was her idea to go off and tag her partner and not pin. That ain't Top Tier's fault. It's not illegal for them to try to stop Chainsaw from breaking up the pin either. Why am I bringing this up? Because after this, you get a promo with the babyfaces saying the same thing that everybody has already said. It's a rinse and repeat. But I'll get to that. So yeah, they pin Daisy Lane after she plops down across her chest or face or teeth or whatever on Crush's knees, and that was it. That was enough for the pin. The heels walk backwards up the ramp, and Campanelli basically says, I don't care what you have, a monster, a metal, whatever. She pointed them out individually, basically, saying that their Top Tier is better than all of them. And in this instance, Top Tier was. What can I say? They succeeded in what they claimed that they were going to do. Win. Regardless of the fact that you're an alleged monster. But the question is, did they cheat? Did they really? Next segment was the promo for the main event, which is Genesis Santana Garrett. I honestly was questioning. I was like, why were they the main event? Top Tier probably should have been the main event. Well, that was the thing that had a storyline leading into it. But anyhow, then we get to the WoW website spot, and we are WoW, and then the WoW promo montage. Those are two different segments, by the way. Then we come back to the next segment, and that was Monsters in Metal having a backstage promo about how Top Tier won't get away with this after losing clean. This is exactly what I have been talking about with Top Tier. They are not helping anybody by beating everyone clean all the time. And the Monsters in Metal promo. The Monsters in Metal promo felt like it was written by the same person that wrote every other babyface promo of people that had some issue with Top Tier. It was like they just took the same sheet of paper, like, hey, this worked a couple of months ago, read this. Just add your own shit to it. Them not losing is a domino effect. It's not initially the thing that you're worried about. You're not looking at the fact that, hey, they got to win sometimes. Sure they do. But if they're going to support the argument of the baby faces here, they have to have cheated. And they almost never cheat. How does that help Monsters in Metal? Following that match, they went and had this segment, this promo, and the first things out of her mouth, Furies, is Top Tier won't get away with this. They like to cheat. And I'm struggling to look at the match. What did they do? What did they cheat? This has to have been out of sequence. And I would also guess it's out of sequence based on the fact that Daisy Lane doesn't look any worse for wear. If this was supposed to have taken place after the match, she's not hurting at all. When not but a minute or two ago, she had to be carried out of the ring. But the second that she got backstage, perfectly fine. I'm ready to cut this promo. And I'm not going to look like I'm in pain at all. In fact, I'm going to look like I just got out of the makeup chair and decided to do this. I am not big on this promo, as you can tell. Delivery was fine. Everybody did what they were supposed to do. And I'm pretty sure they did what they were capable of doing, given probably the circumstances that they were under. We don't know what they did. Just say this. And then we'll worry about the match later. But it's the same content as everyone else. It's the same content. That's just what I was talking about. Here's your promo. Yeah, I know it's the same thing that Kara said, and Tara Strike said, and Xena Phoenix said, and whoever the fuck else. But just say it again, add your own stuff. So, yeah, again, it's one of those cases. It ain't about the execution. It's just the content of it is off. And this is a perfect example of the domino effect that I've been talking about with Top Tier from the get-go. They don't help anybody. I ain't saying that they had to give the titles up, those precious vanity belts. I'm not saying that they had to give them up. But they should have had done something by now to have helped somebody, rather than just steamrolling everybody that's in the mid-card of WoW. Next segment is Genesis, and she does a promo on Santana Garrett. It's not her normal exile promo. I wrote good. I don't need to hear how she's been exiled and this, that, and the other for another time. It's fairly nonsensical, but it was fine. I guess that the thing that I honed in is like, you're lucky you're respected around here. I was like, well, lucky for what? Why? And she never explained it. So whereas I was happy that she didn't go off into, you exiled me from the main event. I'm glad she didn't do something like that. But at the same time, I'm like, well, what does that mean? You're lucky you're respected around here? What does that mean? Lucky how? Is she protected? I was like, because if that's what she's saying, there's nothing to back that up. Santana Garrett's been screwed over numerous times in that place. Like right now. Here we are. I got another number one contenders match. Like I haven't had 5 or 6 of them already. That never went anywhere. Cheated out of the championship match with no repercussion to the person that did it. So I have no idea what this, you're lucky you're respected around here. Like, what, lucky for what? For what? How? What is he lucky with? Moving up the ladder? Or maybe she's lucky being on that gerbil wheel that she's on with the championship belt that she keeps trying to run and catch but can't quite get close enough to. So anyhow, the next segment is the promo. Kara Kai and Xena Phoenix versus Animal Instinct. That was the clip that you heard at the beginning of the show. With Kara Kai, the template for the promo that Fury did earlier. Using this clip, I wrote, why did they use this clip? We can't let them get away with this. You got to do something. She sounded like the world was coming to an end. You got to do something, David. Of all the audio that they had, why that? Seriously. I have to pick the whiniest thing that she's probably done. Oh my gosh. I know, I'll use this one. This will make her sound like a super competitor. The fans will get behind this one. That'll show how brave she is. Oh my goodness. Okay. So yeah, they used this. And really, again, I said it already. That didn't even make sense. What did Animal Instinct even do? What is this supposed to imply? Did the person that put this together even listen to the goddamn clip? This is one of those that doesn't bother me as a wrestling fan, bothers me as an editor. That clip bothers me. Next segment, the main event. Genesis versus Santana Garrett. And really, I mean, nothing against either one of these ladies, but this was just another number one contenders match, another match between Genesis and Santana Garrett, which really has nothing behind it, no angle, no reason to want to see this match other than I want to see the match. There's nothing here. And I'll be quite honest, I was not interested in this match, and I'm just tired of seeing it. Without having anything else there, I mean, it'd have been a different story if they were noted for having these kick-ass matches every time that they got together. But it's hard to say it, I mean, without sounding insulting, because it's not like the match is bad. I cannot say that the match is bad. I just wasn't interested in the match. There's nearly nothing to them other than the same thing that has been all year. I want to be the champion. I want to be the champion. And the other one's standing in the other person's way. It's not even personal. They haven't even gotten to that point. Genesis just cheats because she's just Genesis and she's a heel and she cheats. And good on her for doing it, although I don't understand why she's never used the nunchucks to anybody on any occasion for the last 3 years, if not longer. They both did fine. They both looked fine. They, everything in the match was enjoyable. I just didn't have the interest in it that I probably should have had. And during this match, the commentators put over how long top tier has been champions. Yay. And I wrote down, I don't think that they're getting the heat that they believe they think they are. Talking about the commentators and WoW in general and top tier. The match starts. Genesis comes out, does the normal nunchuck routine, and then we got babyface Santana Garrett doing babyface stuff. Walks out there to smiling, looking pretty, shaking hands. And there we go. Genesis did the opposite. She came out there, smiled, looked pretty, and insulted people. And yelled at the camera. This was also presented as another match to determine who gets a shot. That didn't help me get into this at all. It has always been, this is another match to determine who's getting a shot around the same 3 to 4 people. I am tired of it. I'm sorry. I just am. It's Genesis, it's Paola Mayfield, it's Santana Garrett, it's Princess Aussie. They're just constantly circling around the goal of being the number one contender. And whereas that sounds good, it's like no one else has broken through that. And it would probably have been a different thing if there had been some level of real feud attached to Genesis and Garrett beyond just trying to get over the other for a number one contendership spot. It's always them trying to get over the other for a number one contendership spot. And that's been going on, and it feels like we're back in repeat now because champions hurt. It's the end of the year, whereas in the beginning of the year for about 3 months, it was just nonstop no more contender matches to determine who's going to be on, the next one in line. And now it feels like it might be happening again. We got the match to determine a shot for an absentee champion. I mean, how long has it been since we've seen Tormenta on the screen in this universe? It's been 3 weeks already. I mean, she hasn't been seen. They did speak of her, but it was more like, oh, well, we can't say anything because, we respect the privacy and yada, yada, yada. Let me see here. Let me get my paper. She was last on air. Well, that was when she beat the Classmaster. Then she had a match after that against Del Rey, right? Fury. I think this is the one. Yeah, this is it. I think the gold standard was the episode, and that aired the end of last month. So she hasn't been on TV since July the 26th as of this recording, so about heading into 4 weeks. So we got our absentee champion again. That championship has been just a curse if you're a babyface, apparently. But we're back in the rotation of that, talking about Tormentor's injury as this match is going on. And I also wrote down as the match was happening, I was like, well, why wouldn't Del Rey get the first shot? I mean, if we're just going with what should happen, her shot was cut short because she was the one that injured her. Why wouldn't Del Rey get the first shot? I mean, in any other environment, she probably would have ran over there, lightly covered her, and been the champion anyway. But the match had to be called off because, Tormentor was unable to continue. So, being that she was unable to finish the match as the first number one contender, wouldn't Del Rey be the one that's in line to this? I would think so. Although this match made me feel like that was probably something forgotten or just abandoned altogether. So anyhow, I guess I'm not even sure if this match really is going to count for anything because, like I said, how many times did we see just number one contender matches over and over and over and over and over again? So, I mean, I've lost whatever faith that I would have had in that a number one contenders match meant something. I don't have any of that. So we got Genesis. She tries a corkscrew leg drop. This is towards the end, off the ropes, only to miss and hurt herself, which gets her down long enough for Garrett to get back up to her feet. So by the time Genesis is back up, Garrett can kick in the gear and start to come back. We get to our normal Garrett spot, which it looks great, although I do think that she may need to not use it quite as much. I don't know if it means what it could have meant if it was actually like a save move. But she does her rise and shine. You can pretty much see it coming once she gets a rear waist lock and runs somebody into the ropes. She gets shrugged off, rolls back, kips up, forearm shot. Then she's able to pop Genesis with a super kick, 1, 2, 3, and she's done. Genesis is down, and allegedly or assumably, Garrett would now potentially have a shot. It just feels like, and again, match was fire. I just had no attachment to the match. It feels like we might just be back in the rotation of number one contender matches. I hope I'm wrong, but it feels like that's the way it's going. And that was the episode. The overall thing it probably was average, maybe. Didn't have an issue with most of the things that was going on there until we got towards the end and we started interacting with the usage of top tier and certain production faux pas. But aside from that, I mean, the match was fine. It's always a bit about the presentation, though. The presentation of certain people there does not help them. And I won't go off into it again, but, you understood what I'm talking about. So now that we've done that, let's look and see what we have for the upcoming episode. Because, they got their, I guess I was going to say tag team championship, but it's not a tag team championship match. It's a match over nothing. Animal Instinct and Phoenix and Kai, which they've already advertised, but and I was going to talk about it like it was a big thing, but it suddenly hit me as I was talking. It's like this is nothing. It's nothing there. So anyhow, let's see what they got upcoming on season 3, episode 50. The title, Game On. Tonight's exciting showcase features a classic WoW superhero who makes her triumphant return to WoW. The legendary wrestler is not so warmly greeted by ring veteran Sylvia Sanchez for her first in-ring matchup. Tune in to see who it is. Animal Instinct's Goldie Collins and Katarina Jinx have a powwow with Xena Phoenix and Kara Kai, who remain tag team partners during Tara Strike's absence. And in the main event, 2 former WoW champions, Santana Garrett and Princess Ozzy, join forces for the first time ever in an attempt to remove Lana Star's prize tag team, Holly Swag and Penelope Pink, from the championship thrones. Well, okay. This has already been spoiled by their own Instagram, so I don't know why they went through the press release and putting up a graphic saying tune in to see who it is when they have who it is on their Instagram. Paddock. And I already went into this, and nothing against her, but seriously, legendary wrestler. Legendary. Wow. And I don't mean the company either. I mean that as a statement of surprise. Wow. The Animal Instinct, Goldie Collins and Jinx thing. I don't know why it was important for them to point out that Phoenix and Kai are still a team. I mean, what were they team for briefly when they went against Top Tier and lost that feud? So that puts a lot of faith in them for me. I really wish that Phoenix had just stayed by herself. Once she got free of that orbit, she should have just stayed by herself and they should have just let her win. No promos, just let her go through the ranks, tapping people out. But it's too late for that. I assume that the baby faces would win, but you know, you can never tell with Kai. Unfortunately, she's been fairly unsuccessful in these showdowns with bullies. And the main event, I mean, it looks like a match that I would want to see. If anything, I would think that would be the hype point. For the first time ever, our 2 top baby faces, basically, Santana Garrett, Princess Ozzy, joined forces to go after the tag team championships. Although it'd have been nice if they had some lead into that. It'd have been nice if they had found a reason to need to go after the championships. You know, or why they need to join forces to take on this team. It'd have been nice if they had some of that going into this whatsoever, you know, in any variation of, rather than, hey, we just decided to tag up, guys, and we'll get a title shot. Never mind the fact that, you know, everybody else has to jump through hoops and no one contenderships and stuff like that. We just have this shot. So anyhow, the match I expect to be good. That much I can say. I expect the match to be good because of the participants involved. But as far as the overall reasoning behind it, your guess would be as good as mine. Why they're having this match, how they got this shot, I don't know. Not mad at it. I just wish that it would have given me a reason to care more. And I do find it odd that main event was not the thing that they leaned into as far as, hey, tune in next week to watch this. And the more I think about it, I'm like, yeah, why wouldn't you? You got our tag team champions. 3 people in there who are former WoW champions. Swag, it's not like they would know this because it was shot ahead of time, but whoever's putting it together, if they're doing it currently, Swag might be something that they take advantage of also, and she's a top feature on the show. Yeah, why wouldn't you highlight that and put that in the commercial? Tune in next week for this. And, they could have made a whole video package about that promoting it if they were really wanting to push it. For the first time ever. Show some footage of Ozzy with the belt and some footage of Garrett with the belt and the winning streak of Swag and Pink or whatever. Them beating up Miami Sweetie, something. Just feels like a more natural thing to promote rather than having Karakai whine about some crime that Animal Instinct did that we never saw. And that's it. That is the entirety of the show. Hopefully, this next episode that we're walking into will be reasonable and not have massive gaps of logic. I have my fingers crossed. It's the best I can give you. If you are tuning into this through YouTube, please do the YouTube things. Like, share, subscribe. Comments for anything that may have been said that you want to expound on. Or, like I said, if you have your top 10 from earlier, leave that below. If you are listening to this through podcast means, because we are available on greater podcast platforms everywhere, ratings would be nice. If you don't know where to find any of this stuff, and I can't imagine why you would not, you can always go to WPNWrestling.com. It's the home place for everything that is done, videos, audios, and otherwise. And it goes back quite a ways. Every episode of this podcast is there. Videos that run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week are on there as well, with videos and matches going back to 2013. There's more things there than matches, but going back to 2013, a long time ago. Wow. And on that, I think we have covered all ground. So, for myself and the Women's Pro Wrestling Network, this is Mr. Green saying that this is Mr. Green saying so long, and we'll see you on the next go-round. Take care, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the WPN's Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling. If you have questions or comments, please contact us via our Facebook or our YouTube channel at the Women's Pro Wrestling Network. If you're new to the WPN, feel free to subscribe to our channel and like our page. We appreciate your support. Thank you again for listening.